Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this lesson on character design. Right, okay. And this is specifically for animation. So I'm going to give you my beautiful secrets on how to design a character for animation and how to make them basic enough to draw them over and over again. Please forgive me, just like all the other videos, this is non-scripted. I'm basically pulling this out of, my brain. So here, today I'm going to give you a few examples of the characters I've drawn for animation and how I came up with them. Now, everybody has their own specific style on how to draw, but there are still key elements that everybody needs to know. So, here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? So, obviously, the first step, rule number one is keep it simple, okay? You don't want to be out here designing your character for animation to look, like this, where you got, oh man, I'm going to draw him like this. He's got perfect cheekbones every single time. He's got a scar right here. He's got, hair that goes like this every single time. The more things you add, like just this, right? Just this thing that you didn't even think about. You have to make sure all these spikes, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these 7 spikes and the inner ones, they have to be the same for every single drawing. You have to count those, right? So the random stuff you add, like a scar or the number of spikes or just simply putting like a circle in his ear, you gotta remember that stuff. So when you're designing your character, rule number 2, count. Count is the rule number 2 on character design for animation, right? So let's use my character Steve, right? Steve from You're Hired. So he has something like this. He has a big nose, and of course his nose is drawn different each time. He has a nose like that. He's got a big dome, something like this. Now just that's very simple. I guarantee anybody can draw that. But counting here, he's got 1, 2, and when it comes to the hair, he has hair, I kept it simple. I counted, so it's always going to be a circle like this, and then 1, 2. He has 2 spikes, and then on the other side of his head, it's 1, 2. And that's something that I had to make a conscious decision, because I could have given him, like something like this, where I went and just did something like that each time. But then in between animation, this is going to change from 4 spikes here and 3 spikes here to 3 and 2 or 1 and 7. So I kept it simple and just made it 2. That's something you got to keep in mind when you're making a character. Count. So let's move on to rule number 3 of character design. Let's see. You should know your style. Know your style, okay? This brings back to my first point of like everybody has a style, right? But there are still elements, right? So like what I mean is like Adventure Time, right? Let's talk about Adventure Time. Adventure Time is very basic, and you got Finn here. It looks something like this. Excuse my awful drawing of Finn. Everybody oh my god, know your style. It's like, okay. I'm sorry. Like Finn here in Adventure Time, right? He is simple to draw if you worked on the production. Of course, I didn't, so it looks absolutely god-awful. But he's basically a stick man. He's got these long, slender legs and slender arms. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop, 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 wow, wow, whoop, wow. And there you got Finn, there's his backpack. Like, what I mean by know your style is like, this character can do things in animation that other characters cannot. Like, he can do the wavy arm thing that other characters can't, right? In other shows. But, you got somebody like, let's see, Homer Simpson, right? let me try and draw Homer. There we go. beautiful, beautiful Homer. M12. There we go. You got somebody like Homer, right? He isn't going to be doing the wavy arm thing. That's just not going to happen for his character. So, when you design your character, make sure that you know how they're going to move. And that's, know your style. I'll give you an example, right? If we were to draw a character, right, and we basically wanted them to have, no bones, like Adventure Time or something like that, we're going to design them just like Adventure Time. We're going to have, some like slender head, something like that. Something to show the audience, man, this guy can get in a whole lot of poses just by looking at him. You don't even have to know anything about the show. You can tell if this guy were to be running at full speed, he'd be twisting his body left and right. You see what I mean? Like, he's got shorts on. He's super athletic. Look at them legs. Super thin. We just decided a character. Let's call him Henry. That's Henry. Now, what can Henry do? Well, let's say Henry has elbows like everybody else. Henry has shoulders. He has a neck. He's got, abdominal. He's got a waist. He's got knees, hips. He's just like every other human. But what if we say he doesn't have elbows? He doesn't have shoulders. He doesn't have knees. There are no rules. Henry can do whatever he wants. And we'll put that into demonstration. Let's show Henry with his legs completely backwards. Let's have him reaching for a jar of mayonnaise. And his hands are super wide up here. Something like this. This brings in a lot of animation principles. You really want to exaggerate your animation. Just makes it more fun. He's really reaching. He's trying to get that mayonnaise. He's trying, man. He's going for it. His hands are wide. Let's have him. Henry has no bones, right? So instead of drawing, chest into waist into legs, we're just gonna draw him way up here. Gonna have him way up here because Henry doesn't have any bones. We're gonna have something like this. We're gonna have his leg absolutely reaching. There's his leg. Then instead of having a normal connection, we're gonna have his leg going backwards. Something like that. And you see what I mean? Just by not following normal conventions of animation, you have something that is, of course, without a doubt, incredibly weird. This is incredibly weird and strange, and people are going to be questioning why you decided to do this. However, this is going to set you apart because no one else is willing to put a backwards knee, stretch the hands this big, put an incredible U on this man's, midsection. So when you design a character, I want you to keep in mind these rules, just motion, what they can do, where their bones are, style. Based on how they can move, it's how they should look. A big guy like this with big old traps, big old shoulders, something like this. Something like this, He's got big old muscles and all that. He can't move as much as some guy with slender arms and a slender body. Keep that in mind. And I hope these tips were helpful. I hope you can see where I'm coming from and my animation. This has been Fred Stein, and I hope you found this informative. I will see you in the next video.